Well, friends, welcome to Avid Readers of Christian Fiction. I have my pearls on today because we are going to have a lovely conversation with one of my favorite authors. And honestly, I'm not even joking. Eva Marie Everson is one of my favorite authors because I love her Bynum, Georgia books. We're going to be talking about that today. We're going to be talking about the South. We're going to be talking about this town, the characters. But why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself if people are not familiar with you and your books?
Oh yeah, that'd be great. So, yep, born and reared in the South, but I've lived in Florida for 30 years now, and I know some people say, "Well, you're still in the South," but the truth of the matter is I'm in Central Florida, so you have to go north to get south of here.
Yeah.
There's nothing southern about this area, except maybe the live oaks and the moss in the trees and the magnolias. That's definitely still southern. But married and we have three children. We have bunches of grandchildren. So wonderful. This is I think my 48th book.
Wow.
I think it's somewhere around there. I honestly quit counting, but I know it's roughly in there. And the CEO of Word Weavers International, the director of Florida Christian Writers Conference, and the director of the Selah Awards.
And you're not bored at all with all these
No,
wonderful
I
things.
bet. No.
Okay, so this book, Miss Beth Bettencourt,
Mhm.
um, this is set in 1962 in this Bynum, is that how you say it? Bynum,
Bynum.
Georgia,
Mhm.
this town that you have developed, inspired by the town you grew up in.
My hometown
And
of Sylvania, Georgia. Yes.
I love it. Like Dust, one of my all-time favorite books. We talked about that
Aw.
book before. I just love your books. Okay, let me tell you though. I grew up in California. We
Mm.
lived in Montana. We moved to the South, and I'm like, who are these people?
Right.
What are they doing? Why are they saying all those things? So that
What
actually
does that
helps
mean?
me to like understand what is going on when I read your novels and understand what the South is. I just was at a memorial service today, and these older ladies are so beautifully dressed
Mhm.
and they sit so proper. And I'm still like, I've been here 16 years. I'm still like, wow, I'm just still amazed.
Yeah.
But when I read your books, even though they're
It's just a way of
back in
life.
time, like the South is the South.
It
Um,
is. The South
yeah,
is the South. Yeah, and there are bits and pieces of it that just are never going to go away. A lot of it, like the whole debutante attitude, and I love watching. I watch Gilmore Girls, and
yes,
they
yes.
have like the DAR, and of course that's very important in the South as well, and especially in the revolutionary states. So
Mhm.
being brought up in Georgia, of course, I have all the paperwork that I need to join the DAR. I just don't have the time to join the DAR. So yeah, but all
Yes.
of that is still very important. And going to finishing school, you gotta go get finished. Cotillions and things like that. It's still a part of the Southern way of life, and obviously not everywhere, but
Mhm.
in much of the South, that is still very much a way of life.
Yeah, in the newspapers, they still have like this event and this person was with this person. It's like I just being down here is like stepping into another world. And just so my neighbor told me, not my neighbor, a lady that I knew from where my husband worked told me, your neighbors, they're gonna be so friendly, they're gonna be so kind, but they just want to know your business. And I was
That's right.
like,
That's right.
what? Yeah. So every
Yeah,
time
it's
someone
like
comes up and
that.
asks me, yeah,
When growing up, if you said that so and so has asked me out for a date, the first question you get from your mother or father is, "Well, who are his people?"
yeah,
Yeah. So as long as we know who his people are, my mother had a rule that I could not date until I was 16. I was dating at 14. And so a friend of mine said, I can't believe your mother let you date at 14. And I said, it's because of who it was.
mm,
The person that his family, I mean, I was dating his family. I wasn't just
yeah,
dating him. And that's just the way it is in the South. And we have our idiosyncrasies, and that's why I love writing
yeah,
in the South. And I don't feel like what I write about is that typical where the crawdads sing kind of
Mm-mm.
Southern
Mm-mm.
thing. It's just, this is where it's taking place. These are my people. I know how they talk. I know how they react. I just know the nuances. I know the recipes and all of that. And so I just make it as much a part of a normal life as, anywhere else that you happen to grow up. But we do have our way of saying things and we have our way of doing things.
Absolutely. Somewhere in the book, we'll get to the characters in a minute, but something happens in a department store, and by the time Beth gets home, the
Yeah.
phone is ringing. So
Right.
it's already gone through the grapevine
Yes.
of the
Yes.
situation, what's happened. I'm like, oh, this is so real. Like,
Very real. Yeah, it
I
is. And yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Beth says, "How do you know?" Like she's talking to her best friend. How do you that I think they run into her in the grocery store
yeah,
and she says, "Well, how do you already know this?" It's, "Oh, mama called me." Well, how did she find out? So, well, yeah, because if
yeah,
it happened in the department store, it has run the gamut before you can get
exactly.
out of the door and down the street.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about Beth. So I
Mhm.
love the premise of this book. From page one, probably the first paragraph, Beth, she's more well-to-do. She's going to bed for the night, and she wakes up and she hears someone snoring in the other room, which this is the back cover copy. We're not giving anything
Yeah.
away. She doesn't know who this person is. So then you're like, who is this person?
Mhm.
Why is he at our house?
Mhm.
Is this a creepy guy? And then immediately you fall in love with him,
Yeah.
and you fall in love with her for the way she stands up for him. And again, this is right on the back of the book, so we're not
Not giving anything
going
away. Yeah.
you're not giving anything away.
No.
But what I love is there's a certain way to do things. There's certain people who are your people. This
Yes.
person in her bed for a very good reason is not like who her mother would want her to be with.
No,
But
yeah, yeah, and
as
even,
we go along, yeah,
yeah, the housekeeper says, the housekeeper's name is Molly, and Molly has raised Beth, and she says, Miss Astrid's comforter. I mean, she's just so upset that this man was in their house, and of course, you find out, like you said, immediately it's on back cover copy that he was in the wrong house, but he didn't mean to break into the house. This is actually based on a Dear Abby that I read 40 years
what?
ago. Yeah, this woman woke up in the middle of the night. There was a man snoring. Now, in her case, he was in the bed beside her, and she was like, "Okay, I'm a single woman. This does not compute." And so she got out of the bed. He was sleeping really hard. She went into the living room, picked up the phone, called uh, O for operator back in those days, and said,
Yeah,
"Get me the police." And it turned out he had just gone to the wrong house. And I was not a writer then, but I remember thinking that would make such a great premise for a book. It's just
yes,
so funny. It's so funny. But I didn't have anything more than that. And so even after I became a writer, I had nothing more than that. And then did a little writing exercise some, 2 or 3 years after I became a published author, and I started developing this story of sibling rivalry. And
mm,
again, started it, never went anywhere with it, and then some years go by, and the story of the man who gets the wrong house and the story of sibling rivalry kind of fell on top of each other. But
mm.
again, I needed some kind of conflict that it was really gonna like make this thing go pow, but I just couldn't figure it out. Then one night I'm going through some papers that belonged to my father. He was in the United States Air Force, joined in 1949, and I'm going through his paperwork, and there it was. There was a piece of paper I had seen I don't know how many times. I knew about it, but it had never really dawned on me the implications of that piece of paper, and I went, there it is. There it is right there.
And you're not
And
gonna tell me
I
what it is?
I had the whole story just like
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
I am on chapter 21. Let me just I started reading it 2 days ago. I'm on chapter 21. I have a lot to do.
Yeah,
I'm on
yeah.
chapter 21. So when I say I love your books, I love your writing, I love these stories. Okay. You have a way of you're like, okay, this is the conflict. And
Mhm,
then you're like, oh, it goes deeper. This is the conflict.
mhm.
And then you go, oh, wait, this is the conflict. And these
Yeah.
poor characters.
It's
I'm
just
like, I like the emotional, and I think you do this with so many of your books, all
mhm.
of your books I've read. The emotional level of breaking their heart that you take your characters through
hard.
is
Yeah.
hard, but it's also like, I gotta find out. Like,
Yeah.
there has to be some good that's gonna come out of this, but the layers, poor Beth, like,
Yeah.
poor Beth.
Yeah.
And you can see why
Mhm.
she has this very orderly world.
Mhm.
She's doing her
She's become
thing.
indifferent.
Yeah.
She's indifferent,
Mhm.
and that is unfortunately one of the, um I don't want to say traits, but it's an offspring, I guess you could say, of unforgiveness. When
Mhm.
you have someone who deeply wounds you, and you say, I'm just going to forget about that. And you don't deal with it. You don't say, I forgive her or I forgive him. Now, this is something that I've learned over the course of writing this and doing my own research and listening to other people. Forgiveness and reconciliation are two different things.
Right.
There's a wonderful influencer on social media right now. His name is JJ Douglas, and it's JAY
Okay.
Douglas. And I encourage everyone to listen to him. He's fantastic. I love his shorts, but his was one of the first in-depth, um, just chatting about the difference in forgiveness and reconciliation. And one of the things he
Mhm.
said is forgiveness. If I forgive you, that's internal. That's me forgiving you. That's me doing what God has told me to do. But reconciliation is me giving you the key to my heart and saying, I now trust you again. And trusting doesn't always come easily.
Right.
So in the case of Beth, she didn't forgive and just said, I will carry on with my life as though nothing ever
Mhm.
happened. Well, then you set up walls of indifference. And those
Right.
are difficult walls to break, sometimes more difficult than anger or
Mhm.
bitterness, resentment. That that is even more difficult. And so when I got to this scene when Beth finally breaks down, I had to kind of go back over some of my old hurts, my
Mm.
old wounds, and remember what it was like when I finally broke down and just gave them to God. That was really hard because then I had to deal with them all over again. but
Mhm.
but it's real. This is what we do, and that's not what we're called to do as Christians. And I mean, Beth was in church every Sunday,
Yep. Yeah.
but she had that, don't want to talk about it. As far as I'm concerned, I don't have a sister, and this was her identical twin.
Right. Yeah, that hurt her deeply. It hurt her
Deeply, yes,
deeply. And it
yes,
really is, it's like you're putting up a wall about around your heart, and I learned this in a Bible study years ago. Putting up a wall about around your heart, but you're not letting joy in.
no,
Like the wall's blocking everything. Yes, you're trying
yes,
to block the pain, the heartache, whatever,
mhm,
but when you put that wall of unforgiveness, you can't get the joy, you can't get all these other things in. And so, yeah,
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
you can see that.
which is why she had very little social life and she's a kindergarten teacher. She has her own
Mhm.
kindergarten in the carriage house behind her home.
Yep.
And she's just like, I'll be happy raising everybody else's children. Just, doesn't if she starts to go into that heartache and there is a moment like she and Marty are going to the library and she sees the children playing outside and that little bit
Mhm.
of heartache starts to rise up and she
Yep.
immediately presses it back down.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
can't have this. But that's no way to live, is it?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so that's her character.
Mhm.
Very put together. Like her parents are away in Europe, but she has Molly, which we love Molly.
Yeah,
Molly's amazing. And Moses. Molly and Moses are amazing.
yeah.
So she has this orderly world, and then this snoring person, this
Name
snoring
Marty.
person
Yeah,
disrupts everything.
yeah,
And but also you see the strength in her too, because it doesn't matter what people think. You know what I
mm-mm,
mean? So,
mm-mm, mm-mm. And like even because this is 1962 South,
right.
and she will not adhere to the Jim Crow laws. She will not.
Mhm.
And if you don't like it, you can get out. And that's the kind of strength this woman has. Because of her love for Molly and for Moses and just for, in general, mankind. I mean, she
Right.
just thinks it's ludicrous and she doesn't care what you think. But also, as you know, Beth, she didn't start off well to do. Her
Hmm.
father made his fortune in land. He inherited land and turned it into something. And so she knows what it's like to have little, and she knows what it's like to have
Hmm.
much. And still, in the core of her, she's just still an average, ordinary, everyday American girl. She's not anything overly special. But in reality, she really is special. She's not just because her father has money, but because she has so much to offer once those walls of indifference are
Yeah.
down. And like you said, you see that when she goes to court because this man who's asleep in her house is arrested. And even when I was, because I was thinking, if I heard a man snoring in my house, I think I would just get up and start screaming as I'm running out of the door. But instead, she gets a baseball bat just in case she needs it. And she peers into the room and like, yep, there's a man sleeping in the bed. And she just goes downstairs and calls for the sheriff. And she even says, I really think I'm okay. I don't think there's a problem. But of course, he's like, honey, Beth, get yourself outside. So
Right.
she goes outside. She forgets she even has the bat. But then she realizes, okay, something's not right. She goes to
Right.
court. She stands up for him
Yeah.
because, again, he's the underdog, and that's who Beth is. She
Hmm.
understands what it's like to be the underdog.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm on chapter 21. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to read more. We need to wrap up this interview. No, just kidding. I gotta go read now.
Yeah, yeah, you just
But
sit there. I'll read.
exactly. But what I love is, and then other people. We were not gonna give away too much, but other people start showing up, and you start realizing what was really going on and
Yeah.
where the pain came from, and all the things.
Mhm.
Um, and I love that every character seems completely real, like someone I know.
Yeah.
There's no like I don't know from the people at the clothing store to the mechanic. I don't, everyone,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I know this
Yeah. I
person.
know
Like,
this
oh yeah,
guy. Yeah.
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 And so that's what I love. And even the people that show up that bring her heartache,
Yeah.
you don't just make them a villain. Like there's other
No.
stuff going on. So
No. And that's part of it is everybody has a reason for what they do.
hmm.
Um, Sometimes it's just an excuse, but it is a reason. And once she allows Gordon to talk to her, which is another character, once she allows him in the home and she allows Marty to kind of oversee this
Hmm.
conversation, she realizes there was much more to her sister than she realized. That's like, I
Hmm.
never knew this about her. And yet I
Hmm.
grew up with her. Um, so once you open yourself up, you may see that there is another side to the story that you
Right.
just didn't know. Everybody, where they say there's, your story, my story, and the truth lies in the middle. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So good. Okay, so tell us about other books that are set in this
Okay.
town because, like I said, they're some of my favorite,
Mhm.
and people are like, "Okay, this is amazing. I want to read this book." But tell us about kind of some of the other books that you have in this
Mhm.
world, in this
Mhm.
in this world that's created,
This
which
world
actually
I've
is
created.
kind of the world you grew
Yeah.
up in. Yeah.
Well, okay. So I grew up in a very Mayberry-esque town in Georgia. It's near Savannah. Sylvania, Georgia has nothing to do with the light bulb, but
Yeah.
yes, that is the name, Sylvania, Georgia. And it was a wonderful place to grow up. Had the main street that
Mhm.
started on one side of town and went all the way through, and then forked and went uh, further or farther up north and then on into South Carolina. We're almost on that border of,
Right.
the South Carolina, Georgia border. But I was working on The One True Love of Alice Ann, which I wrote for
Yes.
Tyndale in
Oh my gosh, that's
2017.
so good.
And
Yeah.
I realized that I had put Alice Ann in my hometown, that everything that I was
Mhm.
envisioning was my hometown. And I made a decision not to call it Sylvania, but because I'm not going to be factual to Sylvania per se, and I'm not going to actually have the people who lived in Sylvania. And I certainly didn't want someone to come along and say, "Was that me you wrote about?" Because no, I'm creating my own characters.
Yeah.
But my oldest daughter, her last name is Bynum. That's her married name.
Oh, okay.
And something had come up while I was working on this, like I got to come up with a name for the town. Something about her, that came up and it had her name on it. And I went, Bynum. I mean, I love that. Bynum, Georgia. It sounds like a real
It
place,
sounds
right?
like a real place,
Yeah,
yeah.
it really does. And of course, I remember the layout of town. But then when I wrote Dust, I started it in Bynum. And
Mhm.
then when she's a
Yeah.
married woman, she moves to the other side of the state. But, started to work on Miss Beth. And I thought, I'm just going to put her in Bynum. That's what I know. And did that. And I've written now the second novel in the what we're calling the Bynum, Georgia series. It's called The Girl from Apple Tree Lane, and it will be out next year. And it's set in
Oh,
73, 74. It's
I have
so
to
fun.
wait.
Yeah. And then the third one is Finding America, and it is also set in Bynum. It starts off in North Carolina, and the two main characters end up in Bynum. They're in search of two people that are missing. But on that note, at my Facebook page, which is open, Eva Marie Everson, just that's it. I actually uploaded an old aerial photograph of Bynum, and of Sylvania. I'm about to do the second one, but I put the numbers like this is where this is where that is. So you can get an aerial view of what Bynum looks like and where they were going when they went to the library, or when Molly goes to IGA, and
Or
where
the
the hardware
previous book of
store was.
the pharmacy was in the previous book, and
Yes, the pharmacy is across the street. Yes, exactly, exactly. It's across the street from the IGA. I mean, it's just it literally is just basically one city block, and that's it. Unfortunately, and of course, a couple of really big scenes take place in the courthouse in Miss Beth Bettencourt. Unfortunately, in the mid 60s, the town determined to tear the courthouse down, which was very unfortunate. Although
yeah.
I have posted photographs of what the original courthouse looked like, had pink Italian marble flooring. I mean, it was just
Wow.
beautiful, just a beautiful place. And of course, every small southern town has this courthouse, except our town. We tore it down, but I did show you like this is where it was. And you can, like I said, you can scroll through and find photographs of that. But also at the very, very, very back of the book, can I just show the cover? Because it's
Yes. Oh, it's
so
gorgeous.
pretty.
Yes.
At the very back of the book, where we have Molly's recipes, by the way, because Molly's always
Oh,
in the kitchen
yay.
cooking. Yeah, so we have Molly's
The
recipes.
orange chicken. Is the orange chicken in there?
Orange chicken is in there. It's one of my favorites. Absolutely. But there is a QR code. And if you go to that, it will take you to the playlist for Miss
Oh,
Beth Bettencourt. So the TV shows, the commercials, the music, all of that is on the playlist, right down to the kind of car her father drives that she absolutely hates. That's a big thing that
yeah.
she hates that car. The kind of car that Gordon drives, and even a little peek into the rooms that inspired the Bettencourt's bedroom,
Okay.
Beth's bedroom, and her closet. So there's some like the places that I went to, the websites that I found. I was like, that's what she would have worn right there.
Oh, I love it. Oh,
Right down
I
those
love
kid gloves.
everything. Yeah, and you love this because they feel so real, and of course we
Mhm.
should have the orange chicken recipe.
Oh yes,
You
you
know,
gotta have that.
yeah, 'cause you're drooling as you're like reading
Yes.
about it. Oh, and so many things, and it feels like these are real people, and I've been to this place, which is interesting. So I live in south of Little Rock. We've moved even farther south for Little Rock, so we're really in like a southern town. They have the courthouse,
Yep.
they have the brick old buildings that are there.
Mhm.
We went to the 4th of July parade, John and I did last year, and it was like the kids marching band, they don't have matching outfits. It's just like I don't know, it was just like
Right.
the
Yeah.
person going out for mayor, followed by the other car for the other person going out for mayor,
Yeah.
throwing candy. It's just
Yeah.
like this southern little
It is.
town.
It's
Everyone's
fun.
sitting in the back of their
Yeah.
pickup trucks. Kids are running out getting candy. It's just like, oh, this is like a real place.
Yeah, it is. It's like a Hallmark movie. You really think, "Oh my gosh, I have just been, drop kicked into a Hallmark movie, and it's wonderful." I'm going back home in July, and I'm going to the little ice cream coffee shop that's right
Yeah.
there in the middle of town. Used to be just it used to be the soda shop. That's where you went to get your hamburgers and cheeseburgers and grilled cheese sandwiches and French fries, and there was the whole, like the countertop with the soda jerk and the whole thing. But now it's a coffee shop, sandwich shop, ice cream shop kind of place. It's called the Little Dipper, and I'm going to be there, and I'm going to sign books, and it's going to be so
Oh, very
fun. Yeah, it's
cool.
going to be so fun. We just had the livestock festival, which has been going on, since Moses was a boy, and we were all talking about the old days when we were in the livestock festival, when we were in the parade, when so and so was, Miss Livestock and that kind of thing. So
Yes. Those are like that's a big thing. Like so,
it's a
even
real thing.
even in Northern California, we had the Carnivale. There was a lot of
Mm,
Italians there. The Carnivale, the bocce ball,
yeah,
then they had all the food booths,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
people still like the question is, people are all over the world now.
yeah,
Are you gonna go back to for the Carnivale in Weed, California? Like it's just
yeah.
every little town has that kind of central
Mhm.
thing that
Yeah,
people, yeah, and
yeah, and
it's
I love it, and I think, that a lot of times the people who have lived there their whole lives, they know that they have something special, but they don't know how special it is,
right.
and like, there are more people in my neighborhood here in this city than there are in the entire county that I grew up in, and
Mm,
I know almost no one. And that's, where when you're in a small town, what is it? I think there's a line in there that says, you know, anything that happens on North Main, they know about it on South Main or something to that effect. I don't know.
yeah.
Like they know about it before, it's even over. So there's there's an aggravation to that, but there's a comfort in that as well, because you know that if you need someone, they're going to be there for you. When
Yeah.
someone dies, they're there for you. When, like, my brother still lived there up until 2019 when he passed away, and when he was diagnosed 13 weeks before he died, I immediately went up there and took care of him, and my friends, my old school friends, showed up, and they're like, "What do you need? How can we help?" And
Mm,
that's what a small town is about.
yeah.
Even right down to the weekend that he died on a Friday. Saturday night was one of my high school reunions. It was a big number, like, I don't know, 45 or something. And so a lot of my old classmates were in town for that, and they all came by the house, to offer their
Wow.
condolences. That's what small town life is about, and it's good. It's a good thing,
Yeah,
and
that's
that's
good.
why I love
Okay.
writing about it.
No, I love it. Okay, let me tell you a funny story.
Okay.
Might not want to tell us. Well, I'm just gonna tell you. So I was at the gynecologist in my new little town,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Oh, you just moved here. Where did you move?" I told her the neighborhood. "Oh, did you buy this house or Rebecca's house?" I'm like, "Oh, we bought Rebecca's house." She knew exactly.
Yeah.
She was,
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, she had a party there, that a Halloween party there." She showed me photos. Like
Yeah.
I'm literally just meeting this gynecologist for the first time, and she showed me photos from last year at Rebecca's house at the party. I'm like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
everyone knows I
Yeah.
bought Rebecca's house. They know who
Right.
Rebecca
Yeah.
is.
It
Her
it
dad,
will not be Trisha's house. It will always be Rebecca's
it's
house.
always
Yeah.
Rebecca's house.
Yeah.
Her dad was a doctor in town.
Yeah.
So everyone knows this house
Everybody
we bought,
knows. Yeah.
and I'm like, it's not just an address. Like
No.
I can just
No.
say I got to
No.
Rebecca's house where she loved to have the Halloween stuff, and they're like, we know where you live.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah,
like,
well, and I
okay.
mean, that's it. That's all and that's all you will ever have to say. You will,
Mhm.
like, the Rebecca Smith house, or whatever, and they'll always know what it is. And even when you ask for directions, they're going to come in. Now, you're gonna go down to Farmer Brown's house, or
Or
whatever. Yeah.
they say go down where the old Rite Aid used to be, and I'm like,
Right.
I don't. I
Yes.
just only lived here. Like, how do I know where the old Rite Aid used to
Right, yeah.
be?
And sometimes they'll even ask you, "Now, you know where the old Rite Aid used to be, right?" It's like, "No."
No, I just moved here.
Don't. No.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it, and I love it, and I
Yeah.
love being in the South, and I love the people. Yes, news gets around, but they do
Yeah.
show up with the casserole.
That's right. That's right. You
When
better that's why you're gonna need these recipes in this book. But also, again, just because forgiveness is such a vital part of my walk with
mm,
Christ. I have been forgiven much. I have had to forgive much. And it's not always easy, but it
yeah,
is always required. And so that's a real heavy topic for me. And I wanted to be able to show it in a very real way that hopefully won't rip somebody's heart out, but at the same time will make them stop and think, okay, is there anyone in my life that I've just become indifferent
Mhm.
about what happened? Because even that is not where we're supposed to be as Christians. And I just think it has a great message. And I love that Marty walks in such spiritual wisdom. And he
Mhm.
says to her, it was no mistake that night that I got the wrong house.
Yeah.
He says, God led me right here to help you.
I love it. Oh, it's such a good book. So Miss Beth Bettencourt.
Mhm.
It would be a really good book club book too. Excellent book club book. Talk about all the things. And also, well, I'm gonna ask Eva Marie in a minute where to go, but
Mhm.
have your library. Have put in
Yes.
for your request it at your library, because then it gets in circulation and people fall in
Yes.
love with her and go look at her other books. So
Yeah.
yes. So
Yes, yes.
we're
Yeah, I mean, brick and mortar store, because we're always like Amazon, christianbook.com, walmart.com,
yeah.
barnesandnoble.com. But listen, your brick and mortar stores, if you have
Mhm.
a favorite, go in there and say, please order Miss Beth Bettencourt so we can get it out. And if you do have a book club, I am more than happy to zoom right in. I'm doing a lot of
Yay.
book clubs coming up, and I'm excited about that.
This will be a perfect book for that.
Yeah.
So tell people where they can connect with you if they're doing a book club and
Yeah.
how they can reach you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Eva Marie Everson author.com. You got to have that author in there. You
Okay.
can just go to the contact page if you'd like and shoot me an email. And also, I have a Southern newsletter that goes out once a month with fun things like Southern sayings and Southern recipes. And I keep it short and sweet, but I do like to tickle your funny bone a little bit with it.
Mhm. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here.